Yeah, way back in the day, there was some kind of homesteading town nearby, and this was the family cemetery. And once we get back there, you can see the path that they used to take and wind around the hill to get to the top to bury the dead. Pretty soon, you'll start seeing gravestones. They're literally just scattered randomly all over the place.
Oh, dude, look at that in the tree.
Is that a, oh, dude, is that a headstone inside a tree?
Probably. Very well could be. Like I said, just start looking around, you'll see them all over the place. One right here.
You can go.
This is Midwest Legend Hunters, and we're currently in Crosswind Marsh Park, outside of Charleston, Michigan.
Carlton,
Michigan. We're outside Carlton, Michigan. And what is an overgrown cemetery for another town that no longer exists. What was the name you said it was?
I believe the township was called Colf before it was absorbed by Carlton, which became the dominant town back then.
Do you know anything about demographics when it existed and what time?
I know it was in the early to mid 1800s. Carlton was founded in 1860, I want to say, 1860. So before that, because when they tried, this was the original one. Then Carlton, like I said, was founded by a postmaster and it became larger.
Well, I do know some of these where we have the few remaining standing headstones. It looks like they're buried in the 70s. So this would have been at least here in the late 19th century. You said we can't find anything on Wikipedia or anything about the town. Doesn't even exist.
Yep. If you go on Google Maps and type in the cemetery and everything, nothing comes up about it.
It was a blip in existence.
Yep. I found it mushroom hunting one day. Me and my buddies came back here to look for morels and chicken of the woods and started noticing headstones. And you started digging around, and I believe the trail used to come in, because this is all higher elevation, and it would loop around here, and then they would come up the trail up the hill from the shallow sloping side, because of carriages and all. But what I find odd about this area is it's a large hill of dirt in the middle of flat land for miles. The white settlers didn't move earth. It was the Indians that did that, and they would often do burial mounds. So I kind of think this is an old Indian burial mound that the white settlers came and just kept interring their dead, and because it was kind of bad juju to dig them up, so they were like, oh, we'll just add to it, instead of, making more cemeteries.
So we're right now where the actual cemetery was. So this area right here. So we had the trail coming up and it pulls around, and we loop around here.
And it looked like it would come right up here.
Now we do have an interesting feature over here. Actually, before we go to that, do you mind running past your past experience here?
Oh yeah, bro. So right over here you'll notice a pine tree. The only pine tree in this whole forest, one of the most dominant features of the landscape. Sitting at the top of the hill, at the base of it, there's a few headstones. I'm guessing it was planted when these people were buried. Just on the other side of it, when I first came out here, I thought it was a critter hole. My foot sank into a hole, and when you come pulling it out, there's pieces of old rotten boards coming out with it. Pretty sure I was standing inside of their coffin.
Where the homie Pulaski fell into.
Here's one of the depressions. Another one here. I don't want to necessarily step in them, but you can see the square mark it used to.
Can we see any gravestones? Looks like we have some bricks right here.
And then another one here.
Any gravestones that we can possibly identify that we actually are on a grave? And
I mean, I would imagine they're
right
probably buried. You'd have to dig at them, but like I said, I'm not too keen about digging out here.
So obviously we've had a lot of erosion, a lot of deterioration of the original site. What I've been hearing a lot during my investigation here is that there's issues with all cemeteries of people that were buried being brought back up.
Washed out.
Yeah, the earth gets,
it's a big
for whatever reason, washed out, flooded, just simple erosion. They come out, and you have bones and bodies just like in low-lying areas that washed out when it flooded in the cemetery. And
it's always been an issue. It's a big sand lens around here, so it don't take much to erode it away. Actually, just on the street, there's an old unnamed Civil War cemetery in the middle of that parking lot. My company had to build the fence around it because it rained real bad one time, and a bunch of bones and stuff came washing out into the parking lot. So these pink flags marked graves. I know that. And there's like, I think there was like 100, they numbered them a long time
So what
ago.
do they come out here with, like, you know, radar, sonar?
They must
you know what I'm
have.
talking about, the little thing you run across the ground and it looks
Sonar.
what's inside, yeah.
They must have, because there was pink flags with numbers on them all over this area last time I came out here. I don't see so many of them now, but it's been over a year. But I mean, if you look at the general landscape around here, it's completely flat for as far as you can see in every direction, except for here. You know? Why?
Been over 100 years.
Check it out.
Well, it was the body, remains of a body came up in the creek outside the burial grounds.
We call these smokers when they start. Oh, look. See how it's turning blue? See that?
Oh, remember them? The spores.
Psychopsilocybin. That's it oxidizing. That's a psychoactive mushroom. Extremely. So yeah. Once you see it turn blue, that's psychopsilocybin activating, oxidizing.
Oh wow, yeah, that's
a magic mushroom.
Blue.
Yeah, that'll get you fucked up.
I'm gonna try it later tonight.
No, I know. Yeah. All the time. And we'd always hear people say, you know, back if it's washing out, you'll see when we go there. It's all sand on the backside, unless they've changed it over the decades.
Let's go try that one next and see if we can actually find some people's bones. Really cooking would be awesome for a Midwest legend.
Some of them are old as hell. Yeah, so where's that pine tree? There's a pine, oh yeah, it's right there. The only pine tree in the whole forest at the top of the hill, and there's a headstone at the base of it. This would technically be, like, this is technically Carlton area, kind of. Yeah, here's the one of the headstones at the base of the pine tree. Look at that, the most dominant feature in the whole forest, and it's the only pine tree out here.
Looks a little dead to me.
No, top of it's alive. These under branches aren't though. No
Yeah, that was
point in
planted
wasting.
when this person was buried, I'm guessing, because where else would it have come from? Look how big this thing is, too, man.
Eddie. At least we know a name, Eddie.
Where I stepped in and fucking, my foot
Stepped
went in
into a casket?
Yeah, this is where they're collapsed graves. Like, right there, I bet you if you dug a foot, you'd start pulling out pieces of wood. That's where my foot went in when I was back here. Yeah.
That wood or stone?
The stone is the top of it, probably.
They weren't in wood coffins?
Well, I mean, they probably used a lot of stone, too. There's tons of alabaster and marble and shit all over the area.
What area, what township you said we're in again?
Carlton.
Carlton.
Real close to Carlton. The town of Carlton is right over there.
Is that a historical town, or
Yeah.
is it just like...
It was one of the railroad towns. It was one of the stop-offs. You know, it was between here and Monroe, and the next one would have been Breland, Flat Rock. So it was the town between Flat Rock and Monroe. Check out this old gnarly road.
Oh yeah.
And how far away from here would you say that is, from their little downtown area?
Oh, from Carlton?
Yeah.
2 miles. Literally on the other side of this landfill, when it curves around, you would hook right at the freeway and you're there.
We're in now in a non-existent town cemetery.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call it a town. I think it was like a homestead back then. Where you had like maybe a dozen houses out here.
This is a pretty big cemetery. We had some kind of sizable.
Well, see, there's probably a dozen families, is what he said.
Oh yeah.
Man, there's a shovel right there, Drew.
That's fucked up. Is that one of your guys's?
No.
Kind of weird.
Spade.
And look, a freshly broken piece of rock.
Doesn't look like it came off that one. I don't see a fresh
That's what
chip
I'm
on
looking
that.
for. I'm looking for a chunk missing. Somebody be back here fucking around with these things.
Man, what is this?
What is it? Copper?
It's not. I don't think it's copper. Is it? There's like no oxidization on it.
Iron.
Or yeah,
Yeah, it's iron, but what is it?
I don't know. It's just like half buried in the ground.
Yeah, I would imagine it. I think it all falls under Ash County. So yeah. Yeah, that's got to be a headstone in there.
Yeah,
There's
like
no way it would be